Don't mind. Run Independence Live, so if you want to say something.
And you want to say something to Independence Live?
Get loudy.
And you want to say anything to Independence Live?
I'll get you at the boat. Definitely.
Independence now. Independence now.
Yes. Give the Rangers a chance to get a job somewhere else, eh? Get our holidays back. Right-o. There's another wee sign there. Just getting all the banners in, if you didn't mind. Lovely. That's a cracker. I like the high vis thing. How did you do that, Colin? Okay, thank you. Ah, it's looking good. It's looking good. So torches, you see. Torches. That's your lights. That's your lights. Torch. Just over there, the light. Just the side of the road. Just keep moving towards the side of the road. See the box? There's a box here. And you go, thank you. There you go. Yeah. Torches are just over there, sir. Just there with it, in the line with that European flag there. The guy with a big box. I know I'm gonna be. You coming to get a torch, sir, aye? Have you got a torch booked up? Okay, some people don't know where to go. Thought I'd help you. Just try to push people in the right direction quickly. That's a good turn. You get them warmed up, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
What do we want? When do we want to? Come on, people, warm up. Oh, I know that thing again. Independence Live, just getting the picture in. Scotland chooses Europe. There we go, another what? Well done, good effort. I love the homemade ones, they're the best. And the smart ones. You're on Independence Live, you want to see your star on Independence Live? Let's put the wage face in, without permission. Aye, no, you're right. But you won't later on. It's on the news, it's live at the moment, so you can hardly see a thing though, that's the thing. All you see is the lights, so you don't see you don't see faces. So let's see your back, mate. That's good what you've done there with your flag. Did you do that yourself? That's brilliant, mate. That's right. Great idea. I might steal that one. Watch you don't electrocute yourself.
Sorry?
Just watch you don't electrocute yourself. You're on Indie Live, okay? Catch your t-shirt. You can't see faces, so you're not being incriminated in anything.
Don't worry.
There's a few hundred here. 300-400 easy. Looking for torches, folks.
Yes, we are.
Just over that direction. Just the guy with a box. The guy with a box just for 10 yards in front of you.
Oh, right, thank you.
So, maybe 15 yards. Right, keep going, just here. Where is he? Is that all the torches done?
I believe so. There's some left.
There is some left. There's a couple here looking for torches.
I've already ordered some.
Oh, they moved. Yeah, over here, folks. Over there. Just there. Just there. Guy with the red jacket on. The high vis. Yeah, just over there, love. Just over there. Any folk looking for torches? You folk looking for torches?
Sorry?
You looking for torches?
Sorry for torches. I'm probably
Kelly. I don't know if you're one of the organisers. There's a fair number of folks saying, can we start moving because the folk are getting bolted.
Aye, I'm no charge of it. I'll get the motion out. There's a lot of folk asking who's moving. Do you know who's in charge?
Well, I know Lizzie Riddick is one of them, but it should be there somewhere, I don't know.
Okay, I'll keep asking. Who's in charge? Sorry, but sorry about that. It's a good turn anyway. A lot of folk want to know if they're going to get moving because they're getting cold. Who's it? You know the organiser? Because I'm ready to shout, you ready to go? Yellow jackets, aye. Is that wax burning on you? Well, I'm staying away from you guys. I can't see a thing with this. Sorry folks, just I need to get this in. That's ready to go. That's us, we're on our way. Maybe come Holyrood. You've got to get a mouthful. You make me stay.
We've done that. We've been members for almost 50 years. We've got all these laws in place. But now, sadly, there is another current development of Brexit that has not been making the headlines, and it should, that is potentially more damaging and dangerous than anything else that's happened so far. I'll quickly try to explain what's going on. So during my 20 years in Brussels, I worked in the Secretariat of the EU Council of Ministers, And at one point I had a post working on environmental legislation. And I spent probably what must add up to years of my life sitting in this thing called the EU Environment Working Party. And in that group, with representatives from all the capitals around the EU and their experts, we discussed and tried to agree on new environmental policy to be enacted as laws, which would then be enacted in all the capitals and become part of each member state's environment law. These laws are what has brought us regulated standards for drinking water, clean air, protection of species, protection of habitats, control of chemicals, and the list goes on. At the same time, my colleagues were working in other working parties, the Agricultural Working Party, which has brought us standards for food, for labelling, for animal welfare, other working parties which deal with our working conditions, equality, and the list goes on. All of these laws passed by the relevant EU councils, so the Environment Council, the Agriculture Council, etc.,
which are made up of the national ministers who have been elected and go to Brussels to represent their country. So that's happening on one side of Brussels. On the other side, as Heather knows, the MEPs elected in their member states also discussed this piece.
In the UK, making any kind of exporting and trade extremely difficult. The only way to save specific bits of legislation is for the relevant government minister, so not Parliament, a specific minister to say, oh, actually, maybe we'll keep that one about clean drinking water. Apparently, immediately after Brexit, the government recognised that there were about 2,400 bits of legislation like this. Since they've drafted this bill, they found another 1,400, but they're still not exactly sure if they've got them all. This is a potential nightmare for any form of legal system. So it's not logical to be anti-EU sentiment to wreck our carefully built legal system. And the logical way to have done this would be to go through the laws and find some that are not particularly relevant for the UK, or that were somehow slowing down our economy, or there was a reason for not having them, rather than wiping them all away and no longer having the sorts of safeguards that we believe are important. So for 3 reasons I'd really like you to try to work on this. It's a deregulatory agenda. There'll be no more protected standards in lots of important walks of life. It's undermining devolution. Laws of the Scottish Parliament are going to be wiped away and overruled by a law passed in Westminster. And it's a huge risk posed to automatically repeal all of this law. Only unless ministers take action will it be changed. That's completely undemocratic. So, I would like to ask all of you here to support me in appealing from this gathering in Dundee to the government of Westminster to drop this bill now. And I'd also love to appeal to you all to join the European movement in Scotland and help us fight aspects of this. Help us bring back a Scottish equivalent to Erasmus and help us maintain really close contacts with other countries in Europe revitalise Twinning Link, and re-find our European neighbours. We've got sign-up sheets moving around in the group, so if you would like to be kept in touch with us through our regular mailings and you'd like to join us in some of our campaigns, then please sign up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. Now, our next speaker is João Kay, a Portuguese national. She's lived for 40 years in Scotland. She's a teacher and a born-again fighter. And she is well placed to give us her observations on Scotland and Brexit. Welcome, Jo.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here addressing you on this important day for all those who love Scotland and Europe. I arrived in Scotland 44 years ago to study briefly at Edinburgh University. It was during the taxi ride from the airport to the halls of residence that I first began to realize that I was in a very special place. When I told the taxi driver that I was here to study English literature at the Scottish University Summer School, he suggested that I also study some Scottish literature, and then began reciting the poetry of Robert Burns off by heart to give me a glimpse into his country and his culture. My astonishment knew no limits. This was a far cry indeed from any taxi driver conversation I had ever had anywhere else in Europe. I didn't know it at the time, but people like him were the product of that democratic intellectual tradition, born at least as far back as the Reformation, which taught the mass of the population in Scotland to read and write at the time when the rest of Europe was lagging behind. This has led to what I believe does distinguish the Scots, an early acquisition of cultural and democratic ideals and a tendency to believe in equality and fairness. If this is Scottish exceptionalism, long may it flourish. It is a force for good which should be harnessed and given full political power so it can continue to enable Scotland to make a valuable contribution to all the peoples of the world. I was privileged to teach in Dundee. My foreignness was never a problem. On the contrary, it worked to my advantage, which was very pleasant. Never once did I feel unwanted, and I feel proud that I made a small contribution to the community of Scotland. However, like me, there were 3 million EU nationals who came here on a reciprocal agreement and who contributed to the good of Scotland and Britain, who suddenly felt unwanted and whose lives were thrown into complete uncertainty. It has been dreadfully painful to feel like this, but knowing Scotland and its history, I feel that this treatment that EU citizens and new Scots have experienced is anathema to the vast majority of Scottish people. I hope Scotland, through its collective conscience, will continue to distance itself from such distasteful aspects of Brexit. The result I want to achieve is independence and the creation of a new state which will be an inspiration to the great nation of England next door. Just like my own country, Portugal, led Spain to freedom from a fascist dictatorship in 1974. Then it was the smaller nation, Portugal, that had the courage to change its destiny with a peaceful democratic process, and so led our brothers and sisters in Spain to democracy and political freedom. I am entirely convinced that Scotland can and will do the same. The choice before Scotland is not just between independence on one side or being politically and financially dominated by a bigger neighbor on the other side, with the type of catastrophic consequences we are seeing now, and we just saw some today. It is fundamentally about the type of society we want to be. Let's have no illusions that this is the choice. It's either Sunak, Braverman, Farage, and the values of an inclusive society. It's either Sunak, Braverman, Farage, and the values of the xenophobic extreme right, or an inclusive society which will do Scotland proud and make her respected all over the world. The Labour Party and the Lib Dems are an irrelevance to our cause today, because they are both as pro-Brexit as the alt-right and the Tories. Scotland's contribution to Europe and the world has been too great to let this opportunity pass. You can be a force for good, and you have the conditions to do it. You have everything going for you to succeed. Let no one tell you otherwise. Lots of other countries have achieved self-determination with a third of your resources. Furthermore, we can vote for independence with the moral authority of a people rejecting the narrow values of the extreme right. People all over Europe now support Scottish independence. Every time I visit my other home, I encounter lots of different people from different backgrounds who, without exception, are truly rooting for Scotland and have a much better understanding of our predicament. Eu sou portuguesa. I am Portuguese. And I would like to leave you with a quotation from one of our greatest poets, Fernando Pessoa. Tudo vale a pena quando a alma não é pequena. Everything is worth it when your soul is big enough. Having lived here for over 40 years, I know that Scotland's soul is more than big enough. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to achieve your destiny of independence. My children, my Scottish Portuguese children, in Frankfurt, Zurich, and Brussels, have already got their Portuguese citizenship. But what they all want is to be the proud citizens of an independent Scotland in Europe. I hope that comes true for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was quite inspiring, really. We're going to have a slight change because it's Graham's boy's birthday day, so he's kind of come back to his reprise. So we're going to move things around a wee bit. Just very briefly, we've got Heather Anderson, our former MP. She's going to read us a message from Europe. I can't remember the name of the group, sorry, she'll tell you what that is. And then we're going to have Stephen who's going to speak, and then we're going to have you singing, okay? And your lights, don't forget your lights. Okay, so Heather first gives a wee message from Europe, and then Stephen is going to talk to us.
Okay, hello everybody, my name's Heather Anderson, I'm a councillor in Dundee. But for a very brief period, I got the Guinness Book of Records for being the shortest serving member of the European Parliament in that last month of January before we were hauled out against our will and without our consent. And I just wanted to say, I really wanted to communicate to you how warmly we were welcomed in Europe, how closely and dearly we are held. And you have to remember that on that very last day, the members of the European Parliament who had never previously sung in the chamber joined hands and sang Auld Lang Syne for us. Okay, it wasn't incidental. They sang Auld Lang Syne and they piped us out of the building and basically said we would be back soon. Now, in the European Parliament, we are members of the European Free Alliance and we sit with the Greens in the Parliament, the fourth largest group. And I spoke to Lorena, who's the president of IFA, last night, and she wanted to send you this message. So this is from Lorena and the European Free Alliance and the Green Group in the European Parliament. The SNP joined the European Free Alliance in 1984 because you are Europeans and you stand for a Europe of the peoples, all of the peoples, because we all cherish democracy, true democracy. Brexit was and still is a nightmare. 3 years have been taken out of the European Union. 3 years since IFA lost 3 of its most valuable MEPs. You were kicked out of IFA, out of the EU, but you are not out of IFA. We are shadow MEPs. We are family, and we stand wholeheartedly by your side, and we are convinced that sooner rather than later you will be back in the EU as an independent state. Thank you to them. We'll take the time to send that, and we will be back. We can feel it in our bones. It's not long now. Please keep going for the last pitch. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Everybody, it's... Grab the mic. Oh, sorry. Can you now hear me okay? Fabulous. It's so nice to see you out here. It's one of Scotland's most European cities, which is maybe one of the reasons why this is Scotland's Yes City. The city of yes. And it will be again. You know, thank you for coming out tonight. And what has been to mark, and let people not forget, what has been one of the most regressive and damaging political acts ever effected on our country. And we're going to undo it. And I was thinking tonight, I was speaking to Heather. It's Heather's birthday today. Less fair. You didn't gain any new rights by leaving the European Union, but you certainly lost plenty. And what about the opportunities? I was somebody, I studied in this great city. I did Erasmus. I was able to take the opportunities, and now we sit here without people being able to have the opportunities that we all took for granted. That's something that It's not disappointing, it's something that's shameful, and it's something we should be ashamed of, and it's why I'm so proud to be standing here with all of you tonight. There's more red tape for our small businesses. People are going out of work. Every single day is a day when we're poorer or less well off. And it's no longer a
nation tonight. far, the flags fly so high. For all our liberty, the fight will never die. It grows so strong, join it and sing this song. I can hear the nation tonight. Well, to you, walk the road and hear the battle cry. Feel the pride when you hear the distant waves. Loud and clear, a thousand voices cry. I can hear the nation tonight. As the thunder in the fields echo through my mind, takes me to another place with beauty all around. In dreams of home where freedom is never sold. Can you hear the nation tonight? No, sing all your hearts. Well, let's sing it.
That if Brexit has been such a great success, where is the street party for the independent state that we've supposedly become? You know, where is fizzing with Farage tonight? Where is Bend It Like Boris? He's got 800,000 quid to spend on a party for crying in a bucket, and there's nothing, because nobody wants to touch the Brexit project, which is so evidently completely broken. And the significant thing for us is that it didn't take Scots 7 years to realise what a bad idea it was. So we're here tonight. I'm keen to keep this moving along, so I'm not going to speak here because we've got some fantastic speakers, brilliant musicians, and we need to keep this show on the road because it's kind of parky. Can I just say that when we become an independent country, all our big events are going to be in June. But it is a measure of the hardiness and thrownness of the Scot that you're actually here tonight, papping it. and particularly to our pipers, who, let's just say for certain reasons, are probably having a colder time than anybody else on the park. So, can I just say a few relatively, well, important things about just safety? The reason that we're over here and not over there is because there was a problem with people having a wee swim in the ponds last time. You could say there's a wee bit of a design flaw there, but anyway. So, can you please respect the building and the environment? Do not fall into the water features. I have to say that to you. Keep off the road, look after each other, help the volunteer stewards, do as they ask, it's for your safety, and please speak to one of the stewards. They've all got high-vis jackets if you've got any concern. Right. So, I wonder, are the pipers, they're also still standing in we're about to play something else mode. Are you, chaps and chapesses? Oh yeah, you're the ready, okay. So they're going to give it laldy on something else, and then we will have our first speaker, Lorna Slater. Thank you so much to Sean Alba and friends. So, thank you to the guys. You can, I don't know, at ease or whatever sort of instruction a pipe band admits to. Can I just say as well, just by the by, I'm Leslie Riddick, I'm a journalist. I'm part of the team of Time for Scotland that's organised this, and also the Supreme Court verdict rally, and we will be here every time Scotland is in the news. We'll be on the streets, and thank you for backing us up. Thank you also to Independence Live, who somehow are managing to live stream this through the crowd so that everyone at home Thank you for watching. There's some great speakers coming. I'm not going to stand between them. Let me please introduce the co-convenor of the Scottish Greens and the Minister for the Circular Economy, Lorna Slater.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. It warms my heart to see you all. It was 3 years ago that we asked Europe to keep the light on for us, because Scotland will come home. But it warms my heart to see you all here tonight with our lights on to remind Europe that we will be coming home. Tonight's event is about light, but January 31st, 2020 was a dark day for democracy. It showed how little the views of the people of Scotland matter to Westminster, and that has only got worse. Whether they are hiding behind the Supreme Court to block us from having our say, or using a Section 35 order to overturn our decisions, the UK government doesn't want us to have our say. The reality is that Brexit was always based on a series of mistruths and lies. It was the actions of a xenophobic and extreme Tory government that has always wanted to rip up workers' rights and environmental standards, and our right to work, live and travel where we please. People in Scotland saw through the lies. We saw how disastrous Brexit would be, which is why we voted overwhelmingly against it. Everything that we warned would happen has happened. We have seen an unrelenting campaign against Scottish democracy and environmental standards. The longer Brexit endures, the harder it will be to reverse. This is why our independence is so essential, and why our place in Europe will always be at the heart of our vision for a fairer, greener and better Scotland. With the powers of a normal, independent country, we can do so much better. We can work for social and environmental justice and build an economy based upon support, solidarity and equality, rather than a cruel and unequal Tory Britain. We could be a voice for peace, justice, human rights, and for our planet. We could reject the hostile environment and build an open, inclusive and welcoming future for everyone who chooses to make their home here. We could be a republic where our leaders are elected, rather than inheriting power and wealth. Together, we can shine a light for Scotland and build a future that works for people and planet. Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed to Lorna. Our next speaker is the man who kind of coined the phrase, the lights on. Alan Smith was an MEP. He is now an MP, an SNP MP. He was the man who, in his final speech in Brussels in 2019, in a quite emotional speech that many of you will have watched, pleaded with people in the chamber to keep a light on for Scotland, perhaps a windy light on for Scotland as well, so that we could find our way home. You see how useful a light is when you're trying to find yourself anywhere, eh? So that actually prompted his colleagues to have an event with that same idea, lights on for Scotland. And that is what has got the concept that you have embraced tonight with Lights On indeed. So he is the new Europe and EU accession spokesperson for the SNP. Would you please welcome Alan Smith?
Leslie, thanks very much indeed, and thanks to Lights On for Scotland for the invitation. I'll try and keep the emotions under control tonight, because if the tears go, they'll probably freeze, which nobody would want to see, but it's just fantastic to see so many passionate and committed Europeans in this crowd tonight. As Leslie said, where's the Brexit celebrations? Where's the happiness about all those freedoms that we've won, all the rest of that? 3 years after, 3 years after, we left the European Union against our democratic will in Scotland. Several years after the EU referendum, what have we got to say for it? What have we got to say for it? We're so much poorer, so much worse off. The UK is diminished, Scotland is diminished, the EU is diminished. It's the only negotiation in human history where everybody came off worse at the end of it. And Scotland rejected the whole thing. Scotland's democratic will was to remain within our family of nations. That's what I've been working on ever since. That's what I'm committed to tonight. Because I'll tell you what, I'm sick of hearing about Brexit. I'm sick of Brexit. I'm sick about hearing the bad news about Brexit. I'm sick of knowing on a daily basis the bad news that is affecting so many people across the people I love. And I'm sick of the fact that I didn't stop it happening. I'm still angry about where we are right now. But the people of Scotland, the people of the UK, they don't need to be told that Brexit isn't working. The shriller and shriller the rhetoric on the other side tells us that. They know fine that this is not working. Look at the IMF stats today. Look at how many hundreds of billions have been lost.
Thank you,
So I don't want to talk about Brexit anymore. And I'll make a promise tonight, I'm not going to talk about Brexit anymore. Let them talk about Brexit. It's their Brexit. I want to talk about the future. I want to talk about the solution. I want to talk about the answer. And that's independence in Europe. The people of Scotland are looking to our Scottish Government, and I should have said, isn't it fantastic to see a Green Minister as part of the Scottish Government? The fact that she's fantastic in her own right is even better, but
I rejoice in the fact that we have our cooperation agreement with the Green SNP Government of Scotland. All of us pro-European, all of us pro-independence, serious people doing a serious job in serious times. And the people of Scotland are looking to that government and looking to their representatives in the Westminster Parliament as well for hope, not more bad news. And we have the answer. We have the solution. The solution is putting rocket boosters on our recovery from COVID by getting back into the European Union. And in Strasbourg, in my last speech, I asked our friends and our European colleagues to keep a light on so that we could find our way home. And I tell you, the light's on and we know where our home is. So our job as activists, and we are all activists in our daily lives, and every conversation you have, every door you chat, is to win the people of Scotland to that argument that independence in Europe is the answer to all the bad news coming out of Westminster right now. It's not a better Brexit, it's not making Brexit work, it's not a softer Brexit. I don't know if you've seen the kids' book, that's not my Brexit, you know, that this border's too hard. There's no way you can polish this jobby. The answer is independence. We have the answer in our fingertips, and the people of Scotland, one by one, are coming to us. The momentum is with us, the energy is with us, even on a cold, dark January night in Scotland. There's plenty of lights on for Scotland. Keep it up.
Well, thanks, Alan. The soaring rhetoric and the colourful analogy that will probably not be beat tonight. But let's have another speaker, our first new Scot of the night. Martha Matos Coelho was born in Portugal. She's a Yes for EU activist. She's an SNP Edinburgh councillor, and pretty much Brexit was what got her involved in politics. She's a new Scot, she's pro-independence, and she's brought a bit of a posse with her, I think. So, would you please give a very warm as you can applause for Martha. Martha, come on in.
Hello. Good evening. It is cold, but you're warm shouting. I'm just going to keep with what I've read so that we don't miss anything. This would be a beautiful evening with good people and in a fantastic environment if you were here to mark the 3rd anniversary of one of the biggest eras of British politics of all time. But let me tell you who I am first. I always introduce myself as a very proud new Scot. Long story short, when I moved here in 2015, I thought Scotland was an extension of England. This was what I had seen in the news in Portugal, and most of them fed by the BBC. Brexit campaign mostly happened during my second son's maternity. And I remember not paying much attention to it. No one will be dumb enough to vote for Brexit, I thought. Boy, was I wrong. But Brexit showed me how different Scotland was, how it was more open to a bright, greener, net zero future than our neighbours down south, how it was more open to new ideas and to the world, how European Scotland was, how special Scotland was. So I decided to do what I could to show what we all know. Brexit was a big mistake, misled by a campaign full of lies and false propaganda. Full of lies and false propaganda. Roughly 3 years... roughly 3.5 years ago, this was roughly 3.5 years ago, and here I am today as an elected member of a pro-independence party, and I haven't regretted for 1 second. But today is not only about me. You allowed me to choose Scotland as my home, and that's why I'm here on this stage today. Yes! But today is about all Scots, new and old, born here or elsewhere. I will not lecture you or tell you anything you don't know. I will, however, invite you to reflect with me what Brexit has been. So let's look at the bright sides and the not so bright sides. Starting with the positives of Brexit. More EU people living here have applied to British citizenship, so I've been told. And the passport is blue. Did I forget anything? Oh, right. Now for the negatives, I need some help. You've seen I'm very well on stage with some of my activists, my colleague activists from the Yes for EU. And this is what's going to happen. One by one, they will leave some posters that you can see already with some of the negatives of Brexit. These are just a few of many known facts based on evidence on how Brexit has damaged our daily lives. For the sake of everyone, I know that some people are as tall as me, so they may not be able to see them. I'm going to read them one by one. Okay? So, first one, thousands of European doctors shun NHS jobs after Brexit. Losing EU science funding will be a hammer blow for the Scottish research. Loss of Erasmus, UK young people disadvantaged in the job market. Scottish exports to EU have plunged by 2.2 billion due to Brexit. Now if we turn around, Scotland lost 150 million in post-Brexit UK replacement funding shortfall. EU citizens in the UK, stress, anxiety, family separations due to settled status rules after Brexit. I can vouch for that one, I can tell you. Musicians and livelihoods and careers damaged by Brexit, barriers to touring in EU, and produce left to rot in Scottish fields due to lack of EU workers. Yeah. So, my fellow pro-independence and pro-European friends, I'll finish how I started. I wish we were here to celebrate, but we're not. We are here today to make people aware why we need independence, to remind ourselves how Brexit is harming Scots by the hands of Westminster, why we need to rejoin the European Union as soon as possible so we can build a fairer and caring society and a stronger, greener economy. If the de facto referendum is the only way forward, let's not forget that people like me with settled or pre-settled status but without the British passport cannot vote. Neither can the 16 and 17-year-olds. And the majority of these two groups are pro-independence and pro-rejoining the EU. So if I may, I want to leave an appeal to these special two groups of people. The people of Scotland values you. The people of Scotland values us. But UK government doesn't. Please join the campaign. Make others see what you've seen.
make others understand how they can make the difference and why all of us, the people of Scotland, need a future. A new future, sorry. I believe better. I know in my heart that the light is still on for us. Thank you.
Righty. Well, we've now got a bit of music, which will hopefully get the toes tapping. And I don't know how cold it is out there. On a 1 to 10 scale, is it 10? Yeah. Right, okay. So you're going to need to move around a bit here, and for that very purpose, we have at massive expense, where is he? Got Kevin Gore, he's behind me. Antoine Season is back with a vengeance. Kevin is a musician, he's also an activist. As far as all of this is concerned, a lot of his songwriting is influenced by his own beliefs in equality, social justice, and an independent Scotland. So take it away.
There we go. Thank you very much, Leslie. And we're getting Eddie Hansen. Eddie's been all over Scotland with me doing rallies as well. The brilliant Eddie. Put your hands together for Eddie Hansen, please. Thank you.
Hello everybody, it's turned out nice again, hasn't it? And Martha, if you're still here. Weetle Bam. Boa noite.
Now, Rudy Guthrie is a big Rudy Guthrie is a big hero of mine. He's a singer-songwriter and someone who also campaigned for social justice through his songwriting. He did a song called "This Is Your Land, This Is My Land." And this is my Scottish version of the Rudy Guthrie song.
Southern border. you very much. Thank you. Okay, we'll do one more song. There's a song that I wrote back in 2013. And I sang it at rallies, campaigns all over Scotland. I've also sung it at festivals and various different rallies over in the Czech Republic, Germany, Sweden. It's a song called Independence Day. Stranger, he approached me to tell me I was wrong. He said I was a dreamer, and I let him have his say. Saying, yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. And when the day I'm dreaming of, will come along for sure. We will have a country where all can be assured. Fairness and respect, and the government we vote for is the government we get on Independence Day. Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. Now I'm not anti-English, I'm not an Irish or the Welsh. I'm just dreaming of a country that distributes its wealth. I'm trying to let people have opportunity, break the chains and free themselves from the traps of poverty. Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. And I know I am fortunate, I know what I am, compared to those in the Korea or in the Palestine. Just dreaming of a country when they will be free to determine our future, our people's destiny. Independence Day, Independence Day. Yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of an Independence Day. Come on, Eddie. Outside the Parliament, still my yes badge on. Stranger, he approached me to tell me I was wrong. Said I was a dreamer, but I let him have his say. Say yes, my friend, I'm dreaming of Independence Day. Cheers, all the best.
Tall person's microphone even. Right, can us have another hand for these guys? And Eddie on the fiddles as well. Totally stirring set of songs, those were fantastic. Okay, I hope you managed to kind of jig about a bit there. Our next speaker is Jim Fairley. I've known him for a long time. He set up Farmers for Yes. He set up some of the first farmers markets in Scotland. He's been a great advocate for that sector. He's managed to get the position then of MSP for Perthshire and Kinross. Sorry if I've got the precise name of that seat wrong. It keeps changing. The one thing it doesn't keep changing is it doesn't get Tories back into it anymore, which is a good thing. Anyway, Jim has extensive experience of what's really going on behind the scenes to a lot of our food producers in Scotland. And of course, he is now an SNP MSP, hot foot from the chamber even. Would you please big it up for Jim Fairley?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and fair play to you for being out in this weather. You're a hardy bunch of cheers. And welcome to the Scottish Parliament that was reconvened through an election or through a referendum and a mandate given by the people in 1997. We also cast our votes in 2014 referendum with the promises and the absolutism that our only way to stay in the EU was to vote no. And we did. But like so many of the Westminster promises, that turned to dust. The 2016 referendum put paid to the belief of the lie, whichever you think it was, that we are in a union of equals, because we certainly haven't. So here we are in 2023, and we should be asking that question again. We have a mandate to do so. Should Scotland be an independent country? Yes, we should. But let's look at where we are and who we are. The promises of the sea of opportunity and trade deals that the other countries would be lining up to do business with us. How's that worked out? The IMF don't seem to be so confident today, do they? They're telling us that we will have the lowest growth of any country, including Russia, who are facing sanctions. We've got the most challenging winter faced by our NHS ever. We've got rising levels of child poverty. We have food and energy bills spiralling. We've got teachers, posties, nurses and firemen all out on strike or voting to strike. We've got civil servants striking in this Parliament tomorrow. Our farmers are facing a deluge of imports from huge agri-producing countries. The shellfish fleet in the West Coast are being decimated by the utter incompetence and the dereliction of responsibility by the Brexiteering fanatics down south. But according to Rishi Sunak's list of priorities, we've got to stop the boats crossing the channel. I ask you this, folks, which gallery is Sunak playing to? Which demographic does he think that are going to rush to the polls and vote for this type of xenophobia? Because I can say with absolute certainty, it's not here, it's not Scotland. We Scots have not voted for the Tories since the 50s in my lifetime. By and large, we just do not subscribe to the Westminster Tory ideologies. Are we free of racism? No, we're not. Do we get everything right? Of course we don't, and we'd be hypocrites to say that we did. But when we're talking of hypocrisy, we also have to ask, what is the Labour Party doing that's going to be anything different from the Tories? Listening to Keir Starmer these days, we have two fag papers between the views of those two unionist Brexiteering parties. And there is no way back from Keir Starmer to either the EU or the Customs Union. He is playing the exact same audience as the Tories are. As John Swinney said in the chamber, vote Labour, get Tory. Tonight, folks, we might be marking the loss of our relationship with our European neighbours and the well-rehearsed damage that has been done to our vital industries, standards and for all the other reasons that we know. So we can mark it by lamenting all that we've lost, stand here wringing our hands and listening to each other crying, woe is me and what are we to do? But to be honest, I'm a bit sick of all the lamenting and hand-wringing. And I hope you are too. I'm sick of being labelled as the whinging Scot to be laughed at or sneered at by the arrogance and the entitlement of those Westminster parties who are interested in nothing more than our resources. But folks, we have to remember that this is the country of Wallace and Bruce, of Adam Smith and the Enlightenment, the land of Burns, the land of invention, the land of innovation and science, of global economic thinking, the land of culture that is celebrated around the world, and we are a trading nation the world over. We've traded with our European neighbours for centuries, and yet we stand here tonight lamenting the fact that another government won't allow us to continue that trade and is stopping us from choosing to do things differently. Well, it's up to us to be that change. Thatcher told us there's no such thing as community and then set about to destroy it. It's ironic that it took a pandemic for us to start rebuilding community, but we must continue that rebuilding and that sense of belonging and that looking out for each other. So tonight when we leave here, we must reignite that belief in ourselves, in our communities and in our country. And I've spent some time asking big businesses, how will they trade in a Scotland when Scotland becomes an independent country? Invariably the answer is, as we always have done. This is a mature, stable, affluent economy, and with everything it's play for, so why would we not want to trade here? Ladies and gentlemen, Project Fear is still alive and well, and has been seeping into the pores of our society for many years. So when we hear from the companies saying that they will leave if we dare to believe in ourselves, we should be asking, who are they indebted to? It's certainly not the people of Scotland. So let's get back on the doors, get back in the streets, and talking to our own folk. The Scots who live here and work here, born here or not, black or white, rich or poor, full of fire or full of fear. They are all our folk, and we must all work together so that we raise our belief in ourselves and our country. And we're around the doors having those conversations about independence. We're going to ask those folk who would doubt us, when we achieve our independence, and we will, what will your role be in making our country the success it should be? Because it will take all of us with a united sense of purpose, drive and determination and an ambition to get there. So by all means, let's make sure our European neighbours know that we appreciate that their light has been kept on for us. But let's also make sure that we shine brighter than anyone else and lead this country to independence. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much indeed, Jim. Now, can you help? Aha! We have a man who is one of the Time of Scotland team who had lost his hard drive, a little black disc somewhere, and he's found it! Right, that is one happy guy, so I don't need to get you all to scramble around in the grass looking for hard drives. Good news. Better news, our next two speakers are extraordinary. They're two, they've got no skin in this game. They're academics, they're based in Oxford. One was born in Germany, one was born in Italy. They set up Europe for Scotland. Europe for Scotland are the guys who produced those incredible solidarity rallies across Berlin, Munich, Paris, Brussels, Ireland. Last November at the Supreme Court rally that sent us such a buzz, if you were there then, that lifted us because we realised we're not alone. People see the predicament that Scotland's been put in. So these guys have done an incredible job managing to get all sorts of ambassadors for Scotland all over Europe ready to argue our case when the campaign begins. They work like nobody's business on this. Poor lambs that they are, they didn't bring the right shoes and they've been standing on the grass there freezing, but that'll learn them, as my mother used to say. Would you please give a massive roaring cheer from the folk fae south, Andrea Pissarro and Janina Yetter.
Thank you, Leslie. We are very, very happy to be here today. When our train to Edinburgh was cancelled yesterday, and then the next one was cancelled too, and then the one following that was cancelled again, we started thinking that someone in England didn't want us to come here. But we made it! We are very happy about it, and to see all of you and this energy tonight. We had the bad idea, because we are the joint coordinators of Europe for Scotland, to try to give a joint speech. It's the first time we are trying this.
And it may also be the last.
European friends, we are Andrea from Italy.
And Nina from Germany. And we are here on behalf of more than 15,000 Europeans who have chosen to support our campaign, Europe for Scotland. Europe for Scotland asks the EU to make clear that we Europeans want to welcome Scots back in the EU. To name just a few Europeans that are friends of Scotland, our open letter was signed by famous writers like, oh thank you, I might be German but I'm very short. So our open letter was signed by famous writers like Elena Ferrante from Italy, Daniel Kehlmann from Germany, Colm Tobin from Ireland.
Europe for Scotland also includes some great English people who support Scotland's right to choose its own future. Writers like Ian McEwan, musicians like Brian Eno, and novelists like Neil Gaiman. And let me also name our friends at Another Europe is Possible, who campaigned against Brexit and for a better Europe, and who asked me to express tonight their support for Scotland's right to choose. And of course, some famous European Scots. And we don't want to offend anyone, so you will forgive us if we don't do a short list. But we only want to give a shout out to one of them, Leslie Riddoch, who has invited us tonight and is the beating heart of the Scotland independence movement.
Our campaign was also joined by some of the most significant political philosophers and democracy scholars in Europe. The ones that teach classes on democracy that members of the UK government so clearly never attended.
But dear friends, today is a sad anniversary for Scotland and for all of us Europeans who believe in democracy. Exactly 3 years ago, England imposed its hard Brexit on all the other nations of the United Kingdom, stripping all of their citizens of their European rights.
As a result, the past 3 years have been marked by political instability, economic decline, and a steady erosion of democratic values.
Brexit has deprived millions of citizens of opportunities to study, work, travel and trade freely within the EU.
It has increased poverty and inequality within the UK, whilst fostering a hostile environment for refugees.
And make no mistake, Brexit and the way it was handled has drastically diminished Britain's international reputation in Brussels as much as anywhere else in the world.
At the same time, Scotland is emerging from the ashes of Brexit as an inspiration for many of us in Europe. This is because Scotland developed over the years a civic, inclusive, internationalist movement for self-determination that challenges xenophobic nationalism across Europe and beyond.
And while we say this, let us pay tribute to the memory of Tom Nairn, who passed away last week. He was not only among the 200 European intellectuals who launched our campaign, but he was also our strongest intellectual inspiration together with his friend, Anthony Barnett. And we would like to pay tribute to a good friend, someone that the First Minister described as one of the greatest thinkers, political theorists and intellectuals that Scotland has ever produced.
Let us tell you something. When we ask Europeans to sign our open letter, the answer is almost always, of course. But sometimes people wonder, do we really need to say this aloud? Surely everyone in Scotland must know that Europeans like Scots and would love to welcome them back in the EU.
And we are here to tell you, never doubt. Europeans care about you. Europeans understand the democratic injustice that has been inflicted on Scotland. And on the day when you reclaim your place as a sovereign nation within our European family of nations, we will celebrate all over Europe your victory over Brexit.
We hope all of you will continue to spread the word to Scots that have lost confidence after years and years of disrespect from Westminster. We can only repeat what Europe for Scotland's activists said in 5 European capitals and in 5 European languages following the Supreme Court verdict in November. Brexit must not be Scotland's destiny.
And to our friend Alan Smith, whose speeches in the European Parliament are very much part of our collective memory, we want to say this. From Romania to France, from Denmark to Spain, from Germany to Italy, Europeans will not let Scotland down. We will always keep a light on for Scotland. And in the months and years ahead, our campaign will do everything we can to express the solidarity of European citizens and mobilize the support of European institutions.
So however long it takes, let's keep this flame burning.
Right, wow, that was a tremendous contribution, and just so that you know how dedicated these two are, they're on the sleeper back down the road at the end of this. They're not even going to have enough time to stay for the crack. So that is some incredible contribution, and you better believe that their skills, their persuasive skills throughout in the back rooms of all sorts of European institutions are absolutely phenomenal. And whilst in the past it's the case that the boardrooms have belonged to Better Together, some of those rooms in Europe belong to us. So the next bit is the prizes for the best banner, poster, the best lit whatever. And our stalwart Stuart Kerr-Brown, who's produced all of our publicity material, and also the fabulous poster that's in today's National, and has been filming around the place and has found his hard drive. He has selected, I think, a short list of the best banners, and you're going to vote by acclaim, which will be impossible to determine, so I'll just decide who gets the first, second and third prizes. And my glamorous assistant will now demonstrate, Stuart, the first prize being our large plaque of the poster. Stuart, don't do that anymore, right? Can we have the second prize? God damn it, you can take the boy out of the 60s, you cannot take the 60s out of the boy. The second prize, small plaque, there he is, chastened. And the third prize is a set of mugs that we hope he will not do with what he did with his hard drive. So, okay, those are our wee prizes, and many thanks to Stuart Wright from Doric Moore Printers in the audience tonight, one of the biggest business supporters of independence for many, many years. Thank you, Stuart. Right, so let's have them all up. Watch yourself on those steps, they've got guys slippy. Right, so let's have our posters and banners up, and we're going to decide who's got the best lit one. On you come along the back. Right, I'm going to get my eye put out here, obviously. Right, stand well clear of you, Maha. Right, here we are. These are the 5 shortlisted ones. So, can you spread along a wee bit? Actually, that's a good one as well. How come you didn't get in? Right, you come up as well. Okay. The wee one. Right, well, not a wee one. Actually, no, you've got a big one. Right, so here we are. I'm in the way a wee bit, I know. Right, so we've got our sort of selection. So I'm going to go along and ask you to roar for the ones that you really like. So don't just do that, I'm being generous because I'm a Scot and they look like they've tried really hard thing. Just have selective roaring, otherwise we'll be here all night. Okay, so number 1. Number 2. That kind of pips it. Number 3. Number 4. The umbrella. And the poster. Sorry, you're off, right. So, I know it's the one in the National, but you know, we're just fair is fair, we're just getting... So it seems to me that the winner is Democracy for Scotland. Now it's a toss-up between the 2 yeses for second, so let's do that one again. Yes, 1. Yes, 2. Right, everyone likes the little yes one, so you're strange, but there you go. Right, so that's prize 2. We actually have quite a few mugs, but it's quite fun this, and for me, because it's not raining on me. So let's just have a wee vote between the umbrella, the European Union, and the big yes. So here we go. Final roars. That one. That one. Nah. The umbrella. You just want that umbrella, don't you? That's all it is. Okay, so the umbrella seems to have come third. Thank you very much. My glamorous assistant will distribute the prizes. Thanks to everyone. They'll all get, this is just like Blue Peter or those things from back in the day, or your school races where everybody gets a prize, and actually quite a decent one. So can you all get off, please? Get off? No. No, get off. People are freezing out there, Stuart, you're not getting the drift. So, in the vein of it being freezing, before we have our final speakers, we're going to have another quick burst of the guy who put a little bit of heat into the body of many folk watching right now, and that is Kevin, and is he still here, Eddie? No, Eddie, you see, that's fiddlers for you. They're kind of come and gone, but anyway, what a great fiddler he was too. Right, so Kevin, on his own, on his Todd, for one last song. Please give him a big roar.
Cool, also have a big round of applause for Bruno, who's been doing the sounds, bringing the stage here as well. Right, I thought soon because it was Robert Burns' night last week, rather than do one of my own songs, I'll do a Robert Burns song. It's a protest song that he wrote.
About the men who sold Scotland down the river for their own financial gain. Seems to ring a bell, that. Seems to be a repeating thing. So I'm sure there was a few of them, the referendum 2014, who did exactly the same. So call them the Pass on the Rogues. Farewell to
once again, Kevin Gore. That was fabulous. Thank you. Right, we've got 2 more speakers, pipers to end. It's a terrible night. You've been brilliant. So let's welcome them on. Now, we like to have a sort of mix it a little bit here, because there are different views about the EU. So our next speaker is actually somebody who wants to have 4 minutes of your time about EFTA. EFTA, the halfway house. It's got Norway, it's got Iceland in it. It is what many of these countries joined to be in the single market, but not governed by the EU institutions. Now, that might be a way forward for Scotland. It might not be. It's not what we voted for, but it's not what we were asked about. So, would you please give a wee kind of audience here to Jeff Bush from the Scottish Sovereignty Research Group.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm not anti-EU. I should just point this out to start off with. It's clear we Scots have suffered emotional loss as well as economic loss at being dragged out of Europe. But we're also a canny bunch and need to be smart rather than emotional about recovering what was lost. I believe that joining EFTA is the smart and canny way to rejoin Europe. I'm going to give you 5 reasons why that's the case. First reason is, we've all been damaged by Brexit, and joining EFTA gives us a fast start to mitigating the damage done by Brexit. We can be in EFTA within 2 months of being independent, and in the EEA in less than a year. That gives us access to the markets that we've lost. The EU, at SSRG, we've actually talked with EFTA. We've talked directly with them, and we have an open door. The EU will take 5 to 10 years for us to join, if we're kind of lucky. Anyway, EFTA's an open door to Scotland. We join in a few weeks on the same terms as existing member countries. No one would claim joining the EU would be quick or simple, and of course there's a possibility that some countries, naming no names, seen as non-grace, may not see Scotland's accession as in their state interests. Speed of implementation favours EFTA. The second reason is that EFTA members can apply to join the EU. So joining EFTA keeps the door open to joining the EU at a later date. That light's still on. The third reason is that joining EFTA actually improves our bargaining position in respect of accession to the EU. Joining the EU at a later stage means that accession terms will be known in advance of a referendum on joining. And I do think we need to have a referendum on joining. Voters will know what they'll get. Voters will know what they'll get in advance of that referendum, unlike in Brexit. As an established EFTA member, Scotland will not be quite so desperate to join the EU. We'll already be recovering from Brexit at that point, and may join on better terms as a result of that. The fourth reason is it will actually enhance our trade with the rest of the UK. EFTA and the UK already have a free trade deal. Joining EFTA should simplify the Scotland our UK trade. Joining the EU would make trade with the UK more difficult, just as EU-UK trade is right now. The fifth reason, and for me, maybe the most important reason for joining EFTA rather than the EU, is joining the EU and promising to join the EU as a result of becoming independent actually risks us, poses risks to us becoming independent. A significant percentage of yes supporters voted to leave the EU. The policy of joining the EU automatically on regaining our independence risks losing these voters to the independence cause. We should be maximising the yes vote, not adopting policies which risk putting independence in jeopardy. So 5 very good reasons for joining EFTA rather than the EU: speed of economic recovery, keeps the EU route open, stronger bargaining position at EU accession, easier trade with the remains of the UK, and a lower risk to the yes vote. I'm not against joining the EU eventually
and democratic way, but it's not the way to go from the start. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much indeed, Jeff. And now the final speaker, and she's a gal worth waiting for because she has moved around this Europe, and in fact from further afield. Assa Samaki Roman was born in Mali. She became French citizen at the age of 5. She has become a new Scot. She is a new mum. She's a freelance journalist. She's editor of La Revue Écossaise, so she's French kind of down to her bootstraps. Would you please welcome Assa?
Thank you so much. So as Lassie said, my name is Assa Samaki Roman. I'm a freelance journalist based here in Edinburgh. What an honor to be sharing the stage with such amazing speakers. Thank you all for your passionate words. And thank you all so much for coming tonight despite the typical wintry weather in Scotland. It could have been a sad Brexit anniversary, but it also feels like a celebration of everything we have in common, of all our aspirations for the future. So I leave tonight feeling energized and optimistic. So tonight, and you're not going to expect this, I'd like to thank Brexit. But I know, but bear with me. Brexit brought me back to Scotland. I feared that the end of the freedom of movement would mean the end of my dream of living and working here in Scotland. So that forced me to make a decision. Where do I feel home? And the answer was Scotland. In fact, a lot of my relation with Scotland is through Europe. What brought me here in the first place is the fantastic, life-changing Erasmus program. I don't know where I'd be without it. 10 years ago, I had the opportunity to study here at the University of Edinburgh for a year without having to pay high fees that my parents would never have been able to afford. I found my passion for journalism. I grew so much as a person, and I wanted to call Scotland home. So here I am today, writing about Scotland for a living, now quite a lot in La Revue Écossaise, which is a brand new magazine about Scotland in French that I've launched with 4 other French citizens here, Jean, Sarah, Paul and Julien. We wanted to create a space for dialogue, mutual understanding and inspiration between Scotland, France and the French-speaking world in general. This is why the first issue of the magazine is called Ce qui nous rassemble, what brings us together. When we talk about Europe, of course, it has to be about the politics, the money, the treaties, the memoranda of understanding, etc., etc. But it has to be about the people as well. It's about the way we enrich each other by having cultural, scientific, economic exchanges. It's about the circulation of ideas. It's about the friendship between the peoples and the relationships that are created. My story is the story of thousands of young Europeans. Some have met their closest friends during their year or semester abroad. Some have met the love of their life. Some have started families with complex identities. Living in Scotland has taught me to embrace this complexity. Sometimes we are asked to choose to be at war with ourselves when we need this kaleidoscope of identities to be complete. So we don't have to choose, and we shouldn't have to choose. I am a citizen of Scotland, me, Assanatou Samaki Roman, born in Mali, French since I was 5 years old, a working class kid from the rural center of France. My family has roots in West Africa, in the south of France, in the center of France, and now here. Here is the home we built for ourselves, and we're proud to be part of this nation. People of all continents, all walks of life, make up 21st century Scotland. So let's embrace that. Let's celebrate that. That's our best antidote against all those who seek to sow division. And before I leave you, because we're all freezing, let's be honest, I want to give you One last anecdote. Just last week, I was visiting my mom in the centre of France. I was giving a talk about Scotland and Scottish politics to members of a twinning committee between Lignières, which is the name of the town, and Dunbar, not very far from here. And at the end, everybody came to me and said, what a shame, what a real shame this Brexit is. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, it's a waste of money. But you know what, we'll have the Scots back. So that's what they say. Believe me when I say that people see this. This is not for nothing. What you're doing, people see it and they care. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Très bien.
And merci beaucoup yourself. So that was brilliant. Thank you, Asa. And that draws us to a close, except for the stirring pipers who have been summoned out of the pub. So don't disappear, because it's taken some doing to kind of extract them from their pints. But before that happens, and we've got the dog kicking off, so, you know, obviously the end is nigh. But I just want to thank people, because you've no idea how much goes on behind the scenes to get this show on the road. As was said earlier, the fabulous Bruno Cellini, who has put this whole audio-visual thing on. If I was back in the BBC and I wanted somebody to be absolutely dependable in an outside broadcast, there's the man. For no pay. This is a voluntary effort. He comes from Glasgow, for crying in a bucket. He's come through to do all of this. Thank you. And also to Andrew, not that one, Wilson, who has been pretty much around everything that's put on here and has done all the negotiations with the Scottish Parliament. Fraser Thompson's managed our website. Stuart Kerr-Brown, my glamorous assistant, has done all the posters and the publicity. Plus the small films about Brexit with broadcaster Ken MacDonald. Those small films about Brexit and the damage it's done in Scotland, that someone else with a lot of money and a public state broadcaster should be doing.
But if people are not doing and covering the real stories of Scotland, we'll do it, because that's going to be the size of it from here on in. And one other big thanks to Indie Live, the fabulous stalwarts who make sure that what's seen here by several hundred people can be seen at home by thousands. And not to quite embrace Bob Geldof's language, but give them your blinking money, because they have a crowdfunder on at the moment, and by God, they need it. They are our civic broadcasters. They are wholehearted stalwarts. And please, a big round of applause for them. And finally, thanks to all the folk who have stewarded tonight. I don't think anybody's managed to fall into a pond, which is a real result, so thank you to them. And to the Parliament officials that we've been dealing with. And can I just end by saying thank you so much for coming out, because every time we try to put something on, it's a big act of belief. You'll see on social media that there's a lot of mockery, there's a lot of cynicism, there's a lot of disbelief. I mean, Alistair Jack doesn't even think 72% of Scots want to rejoin the EU. What cloud does he live on? But it's not enough to just gainsay these guys in print. Sometimes on big dates like this date, you have to get out and show yourselves. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am to all of you who have done that tonight. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Right.
Well done.
So, can the Shore Alba Pipers, the drummers and their friends, take it away, and we'll see you in better weather, folks. Thank you.
Well done, man. That'll do. Well done. Oh. That's a cold night, eh?
Oh my God, Jason! I don't know how I did that. My legs are shaking so much.
I done well. You've seen me shake. I've seen you shaking. I thought you were going to.